Let's start with NXT, shall we?
Let's do that.
So, wasn't it in one of the women? They had a women's four-way. Am I dreaming this? Last week, didn't we watch a women's four-way involving Mia Yim and Candice LeRae with two other women?
This is how sad things are. We always say, I can't remember what we saw. I believe so. That sounds correct.
Okay.
I just can't remember anything that happened in the match.
Because remember, I said I like Mia Yim, but I hate these four-ways, and it's even worse when the girls try to do them. So on the Great American Bash, they're so short-handed that on this super card, they had to bring a match back out of the fucking girls match from last week. And remember, I even said I'd love to see a singles match between any of these girls because then it might actually make sense, but the four-way is just caca, right? So they give us a single match between any two of these girls and make it a fucking hardcore street fight. So you can't tell anything anyway. Mia Yim comes out before she gets in the ring, before the bell rings. She has taken every piece of the Home Depot out from under the ring and thrown it in the ring. I said I wanted to see any two of the girls in the four-way in a regular singles match so that I could actually see whether they can work or not. And as I said, with Mia Yim, I know I like her stuff. But they give us a garbage match that any untrained dipshit can fucking do that doesn't tell you anything and devalues the idea of gimmick shots to begin with stop signs and chairs and garbage cans and fucking tables and shit. It devalues the idea of gimmick shots when the guys do it in main events and grudge matches to draw money when you got girls doing it. And I'm sorry, if that's sexist, fuck you. 125-pound women bashing each other with chairs, falling through tables, taking bumps onto concrete for 20 fucking minutes. All that does is show everybody it's fucking phony. And what are the guys supposed to sell? Are the guys supposed to be run over by a fucking Volkswagen Beetle before they can take a bump because this is not hurting any of the girls? I watched it. It was 90s ECW bullshit at the start. Then I skip ahead 5 minutes and they're at the back of the arena next to the catering table. NXT doesn't have the catering that Raw and SmackDown do. They're doing the Tupelo concession stand brawl, but with no blood, no excitement, nothing looking real, and no way to draw any money off of it. So then I skipped way ahead and they got back in the ring finally. And they continue to do shit that's ridiculous for women to do. And they shouldn't be allowed to do it, whether they want to or not. They shouldn't be booked to do it. This ain't going to draw any money. And it just, as I said, makes it look like bullshit when the guys in the main events do any of this. Oh, I'm so scared to get hit by that chair. Why, it almost put that 125-pound, 5-foot gray-haired girl down for a 2 count. And it's just girls doing shit that guys should be doing very sparingly, if at all. And there's girls doing it. Bullshit. 20 minutes of bullshit. What'd you think?
I can't add too much to that. I'm not of the opinion that girls shouldn't be doing any of these things, but I think it has to have the right time, the right place. This match wasn't doing it for me. It went on a very long time. And then it ended.
Okay, Mr. Sexually correct. You're not politically correct. You're sexually correct because it's about the different sexes. Why should if Charlotte, I keep going back to the actual legitimate athletic looking fucking women. If Charlotte and Rhea Ripley have a big fucking match like they had at WrestleMania that can draw me in as an athletic contest and it looks like they're trying to win something and they're selling and they're fighting and they're scratching and clawing to get the victory and they're struggling with each other and all their shit looks good and it makes sense. I can buy that. Whether it's a woman doing it, a man doing it, whatever the fuck. But when you blatantly go out and say, okay, we're going to let these girls in a middle card free TV match do everything that main event guys should do on a pay-per-view match that they had to pay for. Well, there is no such thing anymore. But in a big show, grudge match, why was there no blood? Well, there's no blood because they don't want blood on it. Well, then you shouldn't be bashing each other over the head with blunt instruments. You can't get some fucking color. And as I said, 5 foot tall, 120-pound women being bashed over and over allegedly with blunt instruments, they should be allowed to do this and just make everything look as phony as possible, is what you're saying. I'm not saying a girl should never be allowed to hit another girl over the head with a chair, but if they do, the girl who gets hit better go down and stay there. What the fuck? Does none of this have to make sense anymore?
I will say I didn't enjoy the match, but it's weird because I didn't enjoy.
Because you're sexually correct.
I didn't enjoy the match. I didn't like seeing them have this hardcore match, but I don't want to just label it that they should never be allowed to do this kind of thing. But I personally did not like it.
There aren't two girls in the world that it would be believable for them to do everything that they did in this match if it was real and survive. Sorry. Next match. Bronson Reid versus Tony Nese. I like Tony Nese. He was in one of the Ring of Honor camps years ago, like 10 years ago. Just a young kid then. He looks good. He's ripped. He's small, but he looks good. He's an athlete. Bronson Reid, I like. Could be a new Crusher Blackwell or a Bam Bam Bigelow as he gets older and more experienced. He moves around well for that fucking size. And just a note here, NXT already, it's a much more professional television production in every way than AEW. The graphics, the cameras, the audio, just the technical work, the packages, even the announcing, even though it's lifeless and scripted, as a television production, and this is not a surprise. As I've said before, the WWE, that's one thing they're on top of. They got the money, they got the budget, they can hire the best people. So it's a much more professional television program, NXT, and you don't see anything that's just insulting, just rotten. The talent, nobody looks visually like a piece of shit like they do on AEW. Nobody looks outlawed. Nothing really stupid happens. But the great moments are few and far between, too. The moments where you feel like somebody actually did something they shouldn't do or that they weren't supposed to do. A lot of that happens on AEW in a lot of cases because probably these fucking inexperienced green fucks are just figuring shit out on the fly. But NXT is cleaner. It's nicer. It's a great production. The guys are all athletes. They're highly trained. They do the same kind of shit over and over. And while there's nothing really insulting or stupid or embarrassing, it's just kind of clean and there and nice. And you know what I'm saying? You can get the outhouse or the penthouse with AEW. You're always in a fucking pretty professional zone with NXT, but you know, the high points are still rare. But these guys worked hard. It was an exciting match. It made sense. The right finish, Bronson Reid with a big splash off the top. The fucking guy, a third of his size, didn't kick out after 2, and they did 17 more false finishes. They're professionals responsible for this program. They're in charge, you can tell. It was the perfect finish for the match. It was a nice match to get Bronson Reid over. So for that, this was very good. I could see more Bronson Reid.
I had the same thought. I'd like to see them do something with him. It seemed like it was more of a squash match than anything else, despite Tony Nese's previous accolades in the cruiserweight division, but he's got something.
And we segue to, by the way, the Mercedes Martinez package. And I wrote, I want to see more of her. I've liked her every time I've seen her. I didn't know she was going to be on the show later on. And then I realized that. Okay, well, good. But then here is Rotten Manager Stone doing another bad promo where he imitates a classic heel manager with his tongue firmly in his cheek. Some schlub comes in from off camera and knocks him down, and he's trying to sign Shotzi Blackheart, but I guess that's Shotzi's boyfriend. They're all bearded and bald and have tattoos. I don't know who the fuck's who. Shotzi's boyfriend or protector knocked Robert Stone down, and Shotzi ran over his leg with her tank, and he was laying there trying to impart to us that the tank was hurting his leg. And what the fuck? This gives managers a bad name. I don't know who this fucking guy is. I hate him already.
Well, he threw coffee backwards. I don't know if the guy has anything to do with Shotzi, but he was hit with the coffee, and that was enough for him to knock Robert Stone
okay,
down.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why the fuck. There actually are a couple of managers out there that actually know how to be managers. Truth Martini's running a wrestling school in fucking Detroit, and this guy's on television? The fuck?
There are people that think he's doing a Tony Khan impersonation. Do you see that at all?
Well, who would want to do that? I mean, I can see they both have curly black hair and a nerdy disposition, and otherwise, this Stone is just doing a bad imitation of classic wrestling managers without knowing. He's just seen some tape and he doesn't know how the fuck to do it or why or what he's doing. But speaking of not knowing why, what the fuck, or how, the next match was Johnny Gargano versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. Johnny Gargano, the man with the monotone face. Have you ever seen anybody with any more lack of expression on their face at any given point than Johnny Gargano?
You know, ever since you first started saying that, it's all I could pay attention to when he's wrestling.
It's like the blackface referee they have, right? The tans to the point where his fucking scalp glows through his hair and it's white and his face, and you can't take your eyes off of it. Every time now I see Gargano, I keep looking at his face, and it's the same one. Anyway, I mean, I figured this match was going to be technically okay because Gargano is he's okay. But here they started off with the nice solid mat and chain wrestling, as the kids call it. And there wasn't anything phony or goofy. It's just that Gargano is so boring as a human fucking being. And he looks like a small child. If they still have WWE studios, I want to see the movie where Rhea Ripley is the babysitter for Johnny Gargano and Kip Sabian. Think about it. She's got all the personality in the world. She's a foot taller than they are. They're two unruly children. They could dress them up like when the Three Stooges played their own babies with the fucking, the curls and the... Anyways, after the chain wrestling, then they break into the gymnastics at 100 miles an hour and a dive for the break. So, that's wrestling. Swerve is a good athlete. I will say that. The fans beating on the plexiglass got old with me within seconds. I make noise, yes, but just the constant hammering on the plexiglass, whatever the fuck. Remember when they did the video of Mick Foley, the Three Faces of Foley? I think they will do Johnny Gargano, the one face of Gargano. I'm writing things down to keep myself occupied here while they're doing shit. As a matter of fact, I will read what I wrote. They did a lot of shit to each other, but I don't think anyone told them who the heel was because I didn't see anybody cheat. It was just move versus move. Gargano gave Swerve the reverse Hurricane Rana on the floor and then just tossed him back in the ring and hit a DDT 1, 2, 3. Like that wasn't enough. They did a bunch of shit. And Johnny Gargano is like a bowl of lettuce without the croutons and the dressing and the bacon bits and the cheese and the fucking radishes and the carrots. It's what it's supposed to be, but nobody gives a fuck. It's a bowl of lettuce. So there you have it. What'd you think of that?
It was all right for what it was. My problem was, with AEW, there was a lot of different things I was curious how they would be on the show. To me, with NXT, this was a one-match show. All I kept thinking was, I just want to see the main event already.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire show. And
yes,
I know Gargano's talented, and I've seen him have good matches. DIY against the Revival, him and Ciampa. I'm not as crazy about those matches as some other people are, but they've had some good matches. But I just didn't care. I just wanted to see Keith Lee versus Adam Cole already.
Well, and I guess that's the whole thing. On NXT, you're not going to see anything insulting. Nothing's going to fucking go sideways in a goddamn humorous fashion. Nobody's going to do anything really stupid. It's just going to be more of the same kind of stuff that modern wrestlers do over and over without anybody standing out, and everybody works the fucking same. Remember the next match coming up. Escobar and Wilde and Mendoza, the Lucha group whose name I cannot pronounce, that they're pissed off that luchadors have been, pigeonholed as flippy guys with masks. Okay, they all look good together. They look like athletes. They wrestle Drake Maverick, Fan Dancer, and Easy Breezy, who I guess they're just trying to find something to fucking do with. Have they ever done anything with Fandango and Tyler Breeze?
Not really. And, that's another one of those interesting cases where you talk to guys who work there, and they tell you they love working with them. They tell you how talented those guys are, and they've been used like jerk-offs for years. And I used to think Fandango, even when he had the dancing gimmick, I thought he had something because he could do some cool things in the ring. He was certainly committed to the silly gimmick he was given. But, here they are on this show, and no one cares.
Well, and I like Drake Maverick. I've met Rockstar Spud. He was an OVW boy. I met him a couple times. I wasn't here then, but I met him, and as a matter of fact, I ran into him here a year or two ago at one of the fan fests. Very nice, polite young man, but he's fucking tiny. He's minute. I know that he can talk, and I'm glad that they had a GM role for him or whatever the fuck. He's a great kid, but when you're putting supposed pro wrestlers in the ring, it's just I don't even want to knock this guy. He's a nice guy, but fuck, seriously, not everybody can be the star of the fucking movie. Not everybody can be a rock star. Sometimes other people need supporting roles. I'm trying to be nice, but God damn it, can wrestlers get any fucking smaller? I tweeted the Mid-Atlantic podcast tweeted out a clip of Roddy Piper and Ric Flair being interviewed by Bob Caudle. I said, my God, look, wrestlers look like grown adult men. Anyway, these guys in this six-man tag, highly trained athletes, working hard, taking big bumps, but everybody does the same kind of shit, works the same kind of way. And now they're doing double tags in NXT too. I'm going to talk about that in AEW, but they're doing double tags now, like that has ever actually been a thing. So then this whole thing started blending together, so I zipped ahead, and Escobar beat Drake Maverick. And we don't even need, it's the same. It's the same. Here this just went by, and you're waiting to see the fucking match everybody wants to see. Whereas on AEW, there was no match everybody wanted to see, so it was easier to fucking sit through it. Gargano and Reid did a promo back in the back and tried to have personality, bless them. They didn't succeed, but they tried real hard. Santana Garrett versus Mercedes Martinez. I love Mercedes Martinez's entrance. She looks badass. I like the way that she woman handled Santana Garrett. She was physical. She worked different. It wasn't the same old indie girls match. She laid her shit in. She kicked ass. She had some fucking attitude. Had a badass bitch face expression. And she hit a finish and got a 3 count. This was the best girls match of the fucking night by default. It's the only one that made any fucking sense. Well, I tell a lie. Actually, this was one of 2 girls matches in the course of the night that made a lick of sense. The other one was on AEW. We'll get to that in a minute. But it can be done. They just don't do it very often. Your thoughts on our friend Mercedes?
I want to talk more about my friend Santana. But no, it was good. It was good for what it was. No problem there. It was a solid match, a solid victory for Mercedes Martinez. Not too much to add to that.
Well, and that's the thing is, hey, I know we haven't been watching religiously, but I believe we saw her debut or when she arrived when we were watching NXT before. And that ain't been that long ago. So a lot of people have forgotten how to book, not only how to book, but why it's done. When you first see a new talent, if you expect that talent to be considered by the fans as a top talent, they need to win the first several times you see them. If they cannot win in the instances that you are giving them to be on television, then don't put them in it to begin with. It's better not to see a new talent than to see a new talent lose. Then once they've got some wins and they've established, why do you think the goddamn crooked boxing promoters used to run guys' records up in out-of-town fights against tomato cans? Because nobody takes anybody seriously unless they are winners when they first see them. So anyway, I'm glad that they're putting Mercedes Martinez over strongly on television to lead to big matches instead of the backwards-ass booking that we see these days. They had a package on next week. We're going to watch NXT because I want to see Damian Priest and Cameron Grimes. Two guys that are different. I've already liked Cameron Grimes, and I've said I haven't seen a lot of Damian Priest, but every time I see him, I love his voice. I love his delivery verbally. I love his look. He's a grown adult man. This is what we need more of. And you'll be able to tell when these guys are having a match, you'll be able to tell which one's doing what and which one's on offense and which one's on defense. Instead of the generic, interchangeable fucking cookie cutter wrestlers that we see in a lot of the other matches. And they had, over the course of the night, a few stars picking either Adam Cole or Keith Lee. Here, Mick Foley picked Adam Cole, and then Michaels was wishy-washy and somehow picked both. I don't know how that took place. But then we got the match we wanted to see. And we only had to sit through an hour and 25 minutes of everything else. This was the best piece of business all night of both shows. And I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. It actually wasn't even close, was it? I can't think of anything on either program that was as good as this. You got two guys that people care about, that are completely different, that have history, that both have a championship that they've defended for, in Adam Cole's case, well over a year, in Keith Lee's case, not long, but he beat Adam Cole's partner. There's backstories to this whole thing with Keith Lee in the Undisputed Era. So you've got story, it's built. It had as big fight of a feel as you can have with no fans in the crowd. Adam Cole comes out. He's a star on his entrance. He's got the attitude and the swagger, the look. Adam's a veteran now. You might as well go ahead and say he's not a rookie anymore, even a young guy. He's a veteran. Keith Lee is still green in spots, but God, is he a physical fucking freak. And they were able to have a big man, little man match that made sense and actually built well. And even, remember I've said Keith Lee came off verbally. Somebody on Twitter put it best. He said, as a Keith Lee looks like Hulk, but he talks so flowery and so verbose. And somebody on Twitter said, yeah, he looks like Hulk and he talks like Fraser Crane. Well, right as I had written, I'd love to see more Hulk and less Fraser Crane from Keith Lee when he was kind of having that smirk on his face early. All of a sudden, he starts fucking hulking up. And he caught Cole and hit that spinning power slam, and Keith Lee's shit looks devastating when he hits those power moves, but he is landing everybody flat and he's landing flat. And that's a fucking talent for a guy that size that to be able to move like that. And that power slam, he planted Adam as perfectly as I've ever seen anybody planted on a power slam. And I'm sure it's still there, but he's not fucking dangerous with anybody that I can determine. They did a great rope break where Adam Cole, did you see when he got his index finger to the fucking rope to make the break on the cover? That's, little things. But, Adam's a pro, and I think he was leading it. I saw him doing a little fucking calling, but they were taking this seriously, not fucking around. And they both do different kinds of shit that fits their appearance to make their matches different than when they wrestle other people. They also do shit and they let it breathe while they're selling. Remember we talked about on our watch-along spots, you build and set a spot up so everybody understands it when it pays off. And then when it pays off, then you kick up the pace. And then after the payoff, when everybody's screaming, then you slow it all the way down because it's got to breathe. So they did that and nothing was just being wasted. And then they went into the big moves and it was still anybody's ball game. Who's going to win this? Even the Panama Sunrise, the Adam Cole Canadian Destroyer that he hit Keith Lee with, which is ludicrous to begin with, but it didn't even look ludicrous with the way they did it. Cole comes off the ropes. There was a little fucking momentum. And then finally, he'd hit that first one, and then they went and did some more stuff, and then finally he goes for the second one because that's got to do it. And suddenly Keith Lee counters it with his strength into a fucking power bomb, which didn't look too fucking comfortable. And then a big what the fuck move, boom, 1, 2, 3. Perfect finish. You've already set it up. It's in the people's mind. He hit the one destroyer. He hits the second one. This is going to be it. No, Keith Lee comes out from under, foils the guy's move, hits one big power move, 1, 2, 3. If it'd been AEW, they'd have done 18 more false finishes, and they would have lost what they had with the people and or the viewers at home. But this was put together and agented by professionals with some sense of restraint. So as it turned out, perfect finish. And perfect finish, the right guy went over. Adams had a long run in a match like this. Not only the big guy, but the babyface needed to win. And beside, you can see Keith Lee on the main roster doing a variety of shit. And fairly soon. So I thought it was a great match. It was worth watching this, sitting through the rest of the show to see this match. And it was a perfect finish.
I really liked the finish too because I watched AEW first. And there's a time and a place for near falls. But because they just went to the finish, it was kind of like jarring. Like, oh my God, that was the finish. That was it. And I like that. I'm really high on Keith Lee. I think he's tremendously talented. Adam Cole is great. I will say again, and being in there with Keith Lee, I had the thought once again, Adam Cole needs
some size.
Not just some size, some muscle tone too. I mean, I can't even explain it. I mean, he's almost built like his girlfriend.
Come on now.
No, I'm not trying to be unfair. He's really talented.
I sound like Lance now. Come on, Jerry.
He's really, really talented, but he has no size whatsoever. And anyone would look small in there against Keith Lee.
Yeah, but Adam needs some upper body.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, he just lost the title. There are rumors that he's about to, I mean, some people say he's leaving. Some people say he's going to the main roster. If he's going to the main roster, I can't see Vince giving him too much rope with that physique. And that shouldn't be the guiding factor.
Yeah, because I remember Vince didn't like Christian, and Christian looks like fucking Don Leo Jonathan next to him.
Yeah. But I feel bad saying it because he's a tremendously talented guy. Maybe the best guy on the mic who's an active wrestler in the whole business. But he needs some size and some definition. Or at least have some definition if you're not going to have some size. But beyond that, I'm really high on Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee is tremendous. You didn't even see the Royal Rumble. I mean, he had him in the Royal Rumble this year and had him and Lesnar square off, and I was really into that. I'd like to see where they're going to go with him. I mean, they teased, I guess the next big feud will be him and Karrion Kross, because Karrion Kross was watching from somewhere above with a cameraman.
Well, yeah, that might be a little soon. Because what are you going to do? You're going to get Karrion Kross over Keith Lee? But then Keith Lee's the one that goes to the main roster? That doesn't, I don't know.
I don't think they're bringing him up to the main roster anytime soon if they have him with both belts. And if
God
if Cole's going up there, they're not going to bring him up right away. You can't bring both of those guys up.
Well, I would think that. I mean, I love Adam's talent, but I'd think they'd want to get Keith Lee on the fucking roster for the matches with fucking Brock or any of their other big, well, they don't have that many big names anymore, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Nevertheless, at least they accomplished their purpose here.